All right, guys, so woke MLB baseball, America's favorite pastime. At least that's what they say up until now, I guess. They decided to move their MLB All-Star game away from Atlanta, as you guys know, because they wanted to protest the so-called racist voter ID laws implemented by the state, okay? They said that they moved out because these voter ID laws were hurting black people. They were hurting minorities, communities of color. They were disenfranchising them. So in order to punish the politicians, right? To punish the politicians, they decided to pull out because they care about black people so much. They care about black economic empowerment. They care about empowering people of color. At least that's what they say, right? And you would think that, when it comes to the decision of where to move the game, right? Where are they going to take this $100 million they've effectively removed from Atlanta? You would think that they're going to move that money to another city with a significant minority/black population. That's what you would think, right? And also you would think that they're going to move it to a place where voter ID laws are going to be less strict, right? Because voter ID laws are supposedly racist. So you would think that they would move it to, a city with a significant black population, maybe like New Orleans or like Detroit, right? Communities like that. That's what you would think they would do, right? But, however, woke MLB baseball decided to move the game to Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado. That has vote ID laws, right? That requires vote ID to vote, right? And that also has a shorter early voting period than Georgia, right? Georgia's early voting period was 17 days. Denver, Colorado's early voting period was 15 days. Okay, all right. Maybe they can't control all aspects, right? But, who knows? Maybe Denver has a significant minority community and population that's going to benefit from this $100 million, right? Maybe that's a part of it. Nope, not that either, because Atlanta has a 51% black population and Denver has a 9.2% black population. Okay? And guys, this is a prime example of how silly this whole thing is. This is an example. Because Denver, Colorado proportionally has less black people in that city than the population as a whole, right? America's 13% black, right? So Denver, Colorado only having 9.2% black people. I mean, it's almost like MLB doesn't really care about economic empowerment for black people, and apparently they don't think voter ID laws are racist. So what was the whole point? What was the whole point? Right? What point were they trying to prove? Well, it's like I've been telling you guys. I think a lot of people are starting to see this. This is nothing but an empty gesture. They are virtue signaling with no real actions, right? They're trying to tell the people, right, the masses that, oh, we're for communities of color, right? We're for minorities, okay? But when it comes down to real action, they always fall short because they know there's more money to be made by virtue signaling than actually putting their money where their mouth is, right? They're not going to do that. And again, guys, this is the trick. They essentially just moved $100 million from one of the blackest cities in the country to one of the whitest major cities in the country. That's just what they did. That's literally what they did. It just goes to show how silly this is. And what's even sillier, in my opinion, is when you have so-called woke revolutionaries, pro-black talking heads like Shannon Sharpe cheering on this type of move. Take a listen.
I'm glad MLB did it. Skip, I think the Masters is next weekend. It's too hard to pull that out. But I wish the SEC championship. So as long as y'all got this, we're not coming back to Georgia. Mm-hmm. We're not coming back to the Mercedes-Benz Dome. As long as y'all keep this, we're not coming back. And then, cause Skip, remember in '95, they said, "Nah, we Arizona, we ain't gonna make this little national holiday." NFL said, okay, we got a trick for you. We're going to take the Super Bowl up out of here. Well, they got the Super Bowl in 95, Skip. I think if I'm not mistaken, they got it in 95, but it was supposed to have it earlier. But they wouldn't make Dr. King a national holiday, so the NFL Commissioner Tagliabue said, don't worry about it. Don't you worry about a thing, y'all. And guess what happens, Skip? It's funny, because that money talk. Because think about the money that All-Star Game would have generated. And think about all the money that these sports generate. People are not sticking to sports anymore. It's not happening. I'm so proud of the MLB because, Skip, a lot of their base is what? Minority. A lot of the people that play that game, they're not white Americans, they're not black Americans. They're Hispanic, they're Dominican. And so the MLB say we're about inclusion. And what y'all try to do is not inclusion. So we up out of here. I love it.
So Shannon Sharpe, right, who's supposed to be so pro-black, I would imagine that being on a major television talk show, even though it's sports related, but I would imagine that he understands that $100 million is being taken away from people of color. People that he claims that he cares about, right? Good old Uncle Shay, Mr. Pro-Black Shay, okay? The woke revolutionaries love him, right? He's a ringleader, okay? But this same so-called pro-black Mr. Shannon Sharpe says that he loves the idea of not just MLB taking that $100 million and going to some of these predominantly white cities, but he also loves the idea of other sports doing the same thing. He called for the NCAA to pull football out of Atlanta and Georgia. Okay? He's basically said the Masters should have done it. Right? Guys, how much money do you think that's going to pull out of a state like Georgia and from these communities that benefit from this type of tourism? I mean, we're going to be talking about $500 million at this point, right? If Shannon Sharpe had it his way. So Shannon Sharpe, in other words, loves the idea of pulling out $500 million in economic activity from a significantly black city to other cities that are less black. And see, this is a prime example of the problem with the so-called black leadership in the black communities. They don't care about black economic empowerment. What they care about is empowering you to vote Democrat. That's what they care about. They care more about the fact that people may be inconvenienced to vote Democrat than they do about these same people getting money in their communities. Right? That's what this is about. This is how these people think. They don't understand anything about economics. They don't understand anything about business. They don't understand or care about that, right? Before that segment, Shannon Sharpe was basically advocating for the Biden administration to raise his taxes. He was like, oh, no. The wealthy should pay more. I should pay more in taxes. Okay? That's what he said, right? And Skip Bayless was like, I don't know about all that. He didn't really say much. You can tell. Skip Bayless don't really agree with Shannon Sharpe on all this woke stuff. He really don't, right? But Skip knows his audience, and Skip don't want to be canceled, right? That's why he was in negotiations with ESPN to hook back up with Stephen A. Smith, because Stephen A. Smith is less woke. Like, I can imagine Skip probably tired of Shannon Sharpe talking all this wokeness. But they're basically married together now on Undisputed, so, ain't really that much he can do about it. But I can just tell, Skip ain't on board with all that. Now, again, like I said, these are your leaders in the black community, right? These are people that care more about voting Democrat than they do about economic empowerment. It reminds me of that Roland Martin segment with King Randall, right? King Randall is talking about empowering young black men to do for themselves, to not be dependent on the government and on the system. And Roland Martin, the only thing he's concerned about is, okay, why are you not voting Democrat? Right? That's the only thing he's concerned about, right? And again, Shannon Sharpe is in that same sphere, right, of people that think like that. Now, people that think like that also are not thinking about precedents, right? And I've talked about precedents so much to you guys. And the reason why is because precedents is everything, right? When you sign up for this type of corporate activism, you're signing up for them to also do this when they don't support your causes anymore. Just because these corporations are woke today does not mean they're going to be woke tomorrow. What happens when these corporations are not woke anymore? Better yet, what happens when this country is now minority white? which is what is projected to happen. They're projecting that white people will officially be a minority in this country by 2045. Okay? So now all of a sudden, you've set the standard and the precedent that minorities get special treatment, that these companies should be active to protect minority interests. Okay? So when white people become the minority, now all of a sudden, you're going to have a movement of white people who probably going to feel disenfranchised, and that are going to feel that the system is against them because of all these years of anti-white sentiment being pushed by these corporations and by the media, that is going to result in a lot of white people in the future asking for the same exact things that you guys are asking for now. And they're going to be 100% right to do it, because you guys have set the precedent for that. You guys have said this is okay. This is what these companies should be doing. And it's just going to be funny, right? If I'm around to see 2045, it ain't that long, but who knows? Life happens. If I'm around to see it, I'm still commentating on politics, right? I'm going to say, y'all remember back in the day when y'all started all this, when y'all said this was okay, where you were supposed to give affirmative action to those just because they're a minority in population status, right? You remember all that? You remember all that anti-white sentiment y'all talking about? Hey, according to your own arguments and your own logic, now white people have to get special treatment. Now you can't complain about white people saying that, hey, we don't have a fair shake in this country, right? You can't complain about that. You can't complain about these pro-white groups that are trying to protect white interests, right? The same way you have a lot of pro-black groups that are trying to protect black interests, right? You can't complain when they say, oh, my business is a white-owned business. You can't complain about that, right? Because you have black-owned businesses, Hispanic-owned businesses, Asian-owned businesses. It's okay to use that label, right? This is the type of stuff that these people don't think about. This country is and will change, right? And you have to think about all the possibilities of what could happen. What could these changes lead to? What happens when wokeism is not in style anymore? What happens when the left goes too far left and people like Shannon Sharpe and all these woke revolutionaries have made their bed with these people that are too far left, right? That have basically gone off the deep end, and a bunch of normal people are like, no, we're not with that, right? And these corporations decide, okay, no, we're not with that either anymore. We support these guys, the normal people, right? Now, all of a sudden, you far leftists are going to be the ones that are going to get the shit on the stick when it comes to this corporate activism, right? And again, this is the type of stuff these people, they don't think about, they don't consider, because when, you know, they're in power and when things are going in their favor, they don't care, right? They just cheer it on. They just cheer it on, right? 20, 30 years from now, when these demographics change and when this country is in a different place and when white people potentially are minorities, what is going to happen? I'm very interested to see how this thing evolves moving forward. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.